Okay, good evening. A little after 9, we're going to get started. We're doing tonight Maseches Shabbos Daf Ayin Beis, learning just two distinct sugyas. One takes us down to the bottom of the first Amud, and one takes us, maybe much to your happiness, onto Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, about 8 lines down up to the 2 dots there. So maybe Mark, maybe your measure. I need to add a few more minutes. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for setting the bar for me. I appreciate it. We are going to learn a sugya about Asham Vadai. And Asham Vadai was a korban that if you look in the very bottom Rashi, the second to last, the very bottom Rashi says that it's brought by Asham Gezelos and Asham Shivcha Charufa. If you say the prakim of Ezu Mekomon Shal Zavachim by korbanos in the mornings, which is halachically recommended according to many Rishonim and Achronim, that one should say in the mornings, they should say the Parsha Sa Tamid, followed by Ezu Mekomon Shal Zavachim, followed by Rabbi Shmuel. And according to the Abu Dram and other Rishonim, the reason why we have to say all of them is because one should be Mishalesh Limudo. You have Gemara, and you have Mishnayos, and you have a Brisa. So you have Psukim from the Tamid, and then you have the Mishnayos, and you have the Brisa Rabbi Shmuel. Anyways, that's really Derech Agav. But the Asham Vada is mentioned there, and we're going to be starting with a little bit of that. We're not going to go too much into depth into that area because we want to stay connected to our sugya here. So let's jump in, and we're at the very last line of Daf Ayin Aleph, Amud Beis. Amar Ula, Lamanda Amar Asham Vadai Lo Baya Yediyah B'tchila. Elsewhere in Shas, there's a machlokas between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon in regards to whether or not an Asham Vadai requires das. Let's say, for example, I did an Avera of Shivcha Charufa, which is, we'll see on the top of the next Amud, where one was intimate with a Shivcha Charufa, which is Aser. So he's chayiv to bring a korban. But let's say that you didn't even realize, not that you had Tashma Shamita, that the person knew, but they didn't realize that she was a Shivcha Charufa. So there's a machlokas if you need das for the korban of the Asham Vadai to help you get kapara. So that's a machlokas Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. But according to this shita here, Lamanda Amar Asham Vadai Lo Baya Yediyah B'tchila, if in order to be yotze, in order to get kapara with use of an Asham Vadai, if you don't need das, then the following must be true. Turning to the top of Ayin Beis Aleph, then Baal Chamesh Be'ilos B'Shivcha Charufa Eno Chai V'la Achas. Then if one has intercourse with a Shivcha Charufa a number of times, 5 times is the sampling of the Gemara. Rashi here points out it was b'shogeg. V'nodalo ben kol achas ve'achas eno chai v'la achas. So either he was mistaken with who she was, or it was a different person. Whatever the case may be, we say that they're only chai one korban there because, as mentioned on the bottom of the previous Amud, we're talking about the opinion who holds that an Asham Vadai is lo baya yediyah b'tchila. You don't need das in order for the Asham Vadai to get you kapara. Maskif la Rav Hamnuna Elamayata, and there's a gears to change here. Baal the hifrish korban. If a person had tashma shamita with a shivcha charufa, and he was at that point mafrish, he then separated out, as we spoke about yesterday. He said, "I made an error," and he took out the animal that's appropriate for an asham vadai, and then the Omar. He says to the Kohen who's about to shech to the asham vadai and to do tshuva for him, but this guy is a shtickle Russia, and he says to the Kohen, "Wait 1 minute, hold on, give me a half a day. I'm going to do another avera, and I'll be right back." So he says to the Kohen, "Hold on 1 second. I want to violate this isser just one more time, and then you can, then I'll get kapara with the ashim vadai." Says the Gemara, when our Gemara opened at the bottom of the previous Amud carrying over to the top, we said that one who is Baal Chamesh Be'ilos with a Shivcha Charufa, a man who has intercourse with a Shivcha Charufa 5 times with knowledge in between that something was wrong. It may have been a different person that he was intimate with, so that the shogeg clicks. Okay, this woman is not shaykh to me, but another Shivcha Charufa might be. We said that they're only shaykh that there should be one korban. Why? So that's because of that sheet on the bottom of the page. It says by Asham Vadai Lo Baya Yediyah B'tchila. So then the Gemara tries to push the limit and say, how far does this go? Can you say to the Kohen, wait, I'm going to violate another Isser before you bring the Korban just so that I can chap a rhyme with the Kapara? That's crazy. We allow for a person to intentionally violate halacha and then have a Korban. That's called Mazid. We don't allow for Mazid to work. It happens to be that by an Asham Vadai that it does work, but it doesn't work here. And here's what the Gemara says. Omar Lay, he said back to him, Rav Hamnuna, who's talking now? So this is going to be Ula. Ula said back to Rav Hamnuna, Maisa de la'acharav rasha kamris. He already separated the animal out and gave it to the Kohen for shchita. He gave it to the Kohen for the Asham Vadai. And in such a case, Maisa de la'acharav rasha lo kamina. Namely, Ula has a limitation. Where we say that we don't have, das, that we don't need das to get kapara by an Asham Vadai, that's only true prior to hafrasha. But once you separate out the animal, so then that's the end point. And even then, Ula himself would agree that you'd have to bring multiple korbanos. We are about 7 lines down on the top of Ayin Beis Mud Aleph, and we're going to continue with the shita of Rav Dimi. Ki asa Rav Dimi taught another din. These dinim, Rashi points out, are not conflicting. The previous din taught us about a case where an Asham Vadai doesn't require das. That was the shita of Rabbi Tarfon. And here is the other shita of Rabbi Akiva. Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Lamanda Amar Asham Vadai Ba'i Yediyah B'tchila. Unlike Ula's case where the person didn't require das for the Asham Vadai to work. Here, this shita says, according to the one who holds that you do need das for an Asham Vadai, then Baal Chamesh Be'ilos B'shivcha Charufa Chai Bal Kol Achas Ve'achas. Then obviously, if it's true that you need das, and as Rashi pointed out on the top of the page, in between each be'ilah, with every episode of intimacy, he was informed in between that there was an Isra Shogig on the previous person. Every person that he is intimate with who's a Shivcha Charufa is another korban. So that would be the nafkamina between the first shita that Ula quotes in the name of Rabbi Tarfon and this shita that Rav Dimi quotes in the name of Rabbi Akiva, and that is that because according to the first opinion in the name of Ula, we don't require das, so then, because das isn't required, then all 5 be'ilos with the shivcha charufa will warrant just 1 korban. Masha'en came this sheet of Rav Dimi, it's al kol achas ve'achas. Amar le Abaye, wait a minute. You just said that that with das, that it's going to be al kol achas ve'achas. Amar le Abaye, hare chatas de ba'inon yediyah b'tchila. We know, as we've learned over the previous couple of days, that a korban chatas does require a das. Absolutely, that's required. So what's the question here? The question here is upligi Rabbi Yochanan Rav Shimon ben Lakish. In the case of a chatas, we saw that was a machlokes. If a person violated 2 isurim, let's say they ate chaylev twice, would they then have to bring 1 korban or 2? That was a machlokes we saw in the previous blot. So why here by Asham Vadai are you being so simplistic to say that they're going to be chayav al kol achas ve'achas? We know that by a korban chatas that was a machlokes. We know that there's das there. So why by an Asham Vadai is it so pasha to you that they're chayav al kol achas ve'achas, multiple korbanos, 5 korbanos for 5 be'ilos with the shivcha charufa, and yet by chatas we had a machlokes. So says the Gemara Ishtik. Rav Dimi was quiet. He didn't answer Abaye. So Abaye keeps talking. He's trying to push to find out what the threshold in halacha is. And he says as follows, Amar le. Abaye continues. Rashi actually has the girsa of Amar le Abaye. Rashi actually says that that was the conversation that happened here. So that Abaye is still talking to Rav Dimi. And he says, Dilma, maybe what you meant, Rabbi, maybe what you meant, Rav Hamnuna, was b'maisa tela'achar hafrasha ka'amra suchad Rav Hamnuna. Maybe what you meant to say is that there's no machlokes between Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish here in the case of Asham Vadai once it's after hafrasha, but maybe there is taka, the same machlokes in regards to Asham Vadai as we have by chatas prior to hafrasha. Amar lei, and finally, now he gets him to talk. Rav Hamnuna finally answers and he says, yes, that is in fact the case. And now we are halfway down, and now we're going to see a very unique statement, one that's going to require some perush, a little repetitive. Kiyasa Ravin, when Ravin came to Bavel, Amar Hakol Modim Shivcha Charufa. Statement number 1, everyone agrees by Shivcha Charufa. Statement number 2, Hakol Modim Shivcha Charufa. 2 statements of the same exact wording, and then Umachlokes b'Shivcha Charufa. So he says 3 general statements. 2 of them are the same, and now we have to go back and figure out what each one means. So let's get started. Everyone agrees that when it comes to a shivcha charufa, and like Ula had said, that if it's prior to the hafrasha, everyone agrees that it's going to be considered 1 korban. And everyone agrees that after the hafrasha, that you're going to be chayav al kol achas ve'achas. That's clear from the Gemara. So the first statement of Ula rings true. And the statement that we had after that of Rav Dimi also rings true. But then where is the machlokes in regards to these 2 shitas? the last 3 lines here. What did the line mean that that Ravin said that there's a machlokas in regards to shivcha charufa? So Laman de Amar Asham Vadai Ba'e Yedia Betchila. This is Rabbi Akiva's shita. According to the one who holds that by Asham Vadai that you need das machlokas, the Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, again, as long as it's prior to Afrasha, of whether or not there is one korban or multiple korbanos. And that's how the Gemara explains this particular sugya of da'as as it relates to Asham Vadai, and then whether or not we connect that back to the world of Chatas, and in fact we do. This next sugya that we're starting at the very bottom with the last word on Ayin Beis Amud Aleph is a sugya called misasek. Misasek is when a person does an Aveira, but they do so without any knowledge of the fact that the Aveira is being done. And we'll see a couple of examples of that now. Itmar, turning to the top of Daf Ayin Beis Amud Beis, Niskavin lehagbiyas hatalosh. Rashi here gives us some clarity. We would not have understood this from the Gemara without Rashi. Take a look at Rashi. What's our case of Niskavin lehagbiyas hatalosh? He wanted to pick up that which was removed. Kigon denofal sakin be'arugas hayarak. He dropped a knife into a garden, and he was trying to pick up the knife in a careful way. Niskavin lehagbio. His intent was not to cut anything. His intent was just to pick up the knife. Pasha. It was a very simple thing. You drop a knife, you should be allowed to pick it up. So let's go back to the Gemara. Niskav, he drops the knife, and now he's picking it up. And by accident, in the process of picking up the knife, you accidentally cut a tomato off of its vine. So the din is, according to everybody, pater. However, let's say that your aspiration wasn't just to pick up a knife. Your aspiration was to cut something, but not to cut something be'isr. You're a little bit more proactive, because here we weren't proactive in regards to cutting. I'm just picking up a knife that dropped. So what happens if I do want to cut something? Let's see. Let's say that your intention was to cut something talush. There was a branch that was separated already from the tree from Shabbos. It's not connected to the ground at all. That's what we call talush. It's separated. And I'm cutting a tomato off of whatever vine is already dried out. That was my intention. May not be mutter, but it's certainly not an isur d'oraisa. There's no kotzer there. It's already been removed from the tree, from the bush, whatever it is. So the case is lachtoches talush, and then by accident, instead of cutting the talush, instead of cutting the tomato branch that's already been severed from the tree from prior to Shabbos, instead by accident I cut a fresh tomato off of a live vine that's still connected to the actual tree itself, to the bush itself. So there we have a machlokes amorai. Third line down, I'm in Beis Amud Beis, Rava Amar Pater, Abai Amar Chayev. Rava says you're going to be exempt in this case. And we're going to see the svaras for each one right now. Rava Amar Pater, Dehalonis Kavin Chaticha de Isura. It wasn't my kavana. My kavana was pure. I didn't want to cut. It was an accident. It was a pure accident. So it's Pater, Avalasar, still an Isur Darabana, and you did something wrong, but it's not worthy of a chiyuv. It's not dangerous in regards to halachic standards. It's not good, but you have no isser. Why does Abai say chayev? Abai amar chayev. So Abaye is like pairing things together. First of all, it was your desire to cut. That was clear from the case. You wanted to cut the talush. So because you had a desire to cut, even though what you cut was inadvertent, so still Abaye would say that's beyond the threshold, and you would be chayiv, and we're going to analyze this a little bit more. How do we understand the opinion of Rava? Amar Rava mina aminala. From where do we know that this is true? We're going to learn a brisa up until the 2 dots, just 4 or 5 lines of brisa, and it's going to take us until the 2 dots on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. So let's get started with this brisa. The Tanya, where's Rava's Mari Makom? Remember, what does Rava hold? Rava holds that your pater, when you had intent to cut talush and you accidentally cut mechubar, Rava holds that you're still pater. So what's his raya? The Tanya, the brisa says, Chomer Shabbos misha'ar mitzvos. There is a chumrah by Shabbos as when contrasted with sha'ar mitzvos, when other mitzvos in the Torah, the chomer sha'ar mitzvos mishabbos, and as well there is a chumrah by sha'ar mitzvos, by other mitzvos in the Torah, as it relates to Shabbos. And we're going to be spending a fair amount of time now trying to figure out what this brisa meant, and therefore how Rava understood this brisa to support his shita, that when you had intent to cut talush, but accidentally you cut mechubar, that he says that you're still pater. So here's how the Gemara, here's how this brisa continues. Chomer Shabbos misha'ar mitzvos. Where do we see that Shabbos is more strict than other mitzvos? She'ah Shabbos asa shtayim behe'elam echad. Let's say you do two averos at once. You do kotzer and you do choresh at the same, one after the other. They're different malachos. So then chayav al kol achas ve'achas. You get two korbanos for that. Masha'ein kain, which is not the case, b'sha'ar mitzvos. A little vague because we don't know what mitzvos we're referring to. Not every mitzvah would we say that that's exactly true. So the Gemara is going to spend a lot of time discussing that. And let's finish off the brisa till the two dots now. The chomer sha'ar mitzvos mishabes. We also know that there's something that is a stringency of sorts, something that's unique to the world of sha'ar mitzvos to other mitzvos, mishabes. Sorry, the chomer sha'ar mitzvos mishabes, shebesha'ar mitzvos, in regards to other mitzvos, shagag v'lo miskaven chayiv. There's a case where you are shagag, where it was accidental, you're still going to be chayiv. Masha'en came b'Shabbos, which would not be true by Shabbos. Amar Mar. We're 1/3 of the way down, a little bit more at the two dots and Ayin Beis Mebez. Amar Mar. Mar said, Amar Mar. We're quoting our master. We're quoting from the brisa. So let's get pshat on this brisa that was being used to support the shita of Rabbi. Says the Gemara as follows. Omar Mar, we said Chomer Shabbos misha'ar mitzvos. We said that Shabbos is more chomer. Why? Shabbos asa shtayim behelam echad chayv al kol achas ve'achas. That if you do two distinct malachos on Shabbos, so you're going to be chayiv to bring two different korbanos. However, masha'ein kain b'shar mitzvos, which is not true by other mitzvos. So says the Gemara, hey chidami, what's the case that you're talking about? If you want to say that as it relates to Shabbos, that what you did was the avad katzira utchina. I did kotzer, I harvested, and I did tchina, I was grinding wheat in the appropriate shear. So that's not a good argument to say that Shabbos is more chomer than sha'ar mitzvos, because the kavase gabe sha'ar mitzvos achal chelev v'dam. Let's say by comparison, in the world of eating non-kosher food, I ate a kazayis of chelev and a kazayis of dam. Hacha tarte mechayev, v'hacha tarte mechayev. Both of them, I'll be chayev two korbanos. Yet the brisa had said that there's a chumrah of Shabbos, which is that you'll be chayev two masha ein kain b'sha'ar mitzvah. So if that's the case, we're back to our question, because if you say that Shabbos is where you violated two different malachos, and then we try to extrapolate from there to sha'ar mitzvos, there are going to be the same number of chiyuv. So Shabbos is not more chomer than sha'ar mitzvos, but that's what the brisa said. And the brisa is for sure right. The problem isn't us. The problem isn't the brisa. The problem is us. We need to try again. So if the onesh is the same, it can't be that this is the case, that we're talking about two malachos by Shabbos, which correlate to two isurei achila of chelev and dam. So let's try again, right in the middle of the page. Ella sha'ar mitzvos lo mechayev al echad hechidami. What is the case where Shabbos you're chayev two, but by sha'ar mitzvos you're only chayev one? Because as the brisa mentioned, that there's a chumrah by Shabbos that doesn't apply by sha'ar mitzvos. So answers the Gemara, oh, I know what it is. It's the achal chelev v'chelev. It's where you ate two kazesim of chelev, one after the other. So there, because you did the same isser twice, there we would say you're only chayev one korban. But the Gemara argues right back. If you're going to say that there's the same isser twice in a row by achila, then we have to be dealing apples to apples. If you're saying that by sha'ar mitzvos, that what you violated was eating two kazesim of chelev, then what did you do by Shabbos? The kavase gabe Shabbos, the avad ktsiro ktsira. You got to stay level. You got to keep the playing field even. So if you're saying that you did the same isser twice by sha'ar mitzvos, then you did the same isser twice by Shabbos. And if that's the case, says the Gemara, chad mechayev, hacha chad mechayev, hacha chad mechayev, hacha chad mechayev. In both cases, you're chayev one korban, not two. So we're back to our question. How did the brisa say that there's something chumrah by Shabbos? There's a chumrah by Shabbos which doesn't apply by sha'ar mitzvos. So then the Gemara says, La'olam, really, let's go back to what we were saying before, as it relates to Shabbos, to avad ketziru tchina. Really, as it relates to Shabbos, what we were doing was two different averos, and we were therefore chayev in two korbanos, one for the kotzer and one for the tochei. Okay. Well, umay masha'ein came to sha'ar mitzvos. What then was the less strict case of sha'ar mitzvos? Answers the Gemara, avodah zara. We're talking about avodah zara. So when the brisa said that there's a chumrah by Shabbos that doesn't apply by sha'ar mitzvos, it was saying there's a chumrah by Shabbos that doesn't apply by avodah zara, more narrow in scope than sha'ar mitzvos, representing seemingly a wide swath of averos that one could violate. But no, here the Gemara says it must be that the brisa, when it speaks about sha'ar mitzvos in the beginning of the brisa, it must be talking about avodah zara. Rabbi Ami. This is like the opinion of Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami says, Zivech v'kiter v'nisech v'ha'ala ma'achas. If you do avodah zara, three different things in avodah zara. You do zivech, you shech. The kiter, you do some type of incense. The nisech, you do wine, nisuchayayin. If you do all of these things, b'ha'ala ma'achas, it's in one service to this deity. So then what's the din? Eno chayv ela achas. Beautiful. So now the Gemara says we found a place, the first part of our brisa, where there's a chumrah by Shabbos, Masha'ein came, which is not true by Sha'ar Mitzvos. Namely, if one does kotzer and tochin on Shabbos, then they're chayav 2 korbanos. But when it comes to avodah zara, they're only going to be chayav 1, even if they did different parts of the avodah. And the comparison is apples to apples. Just like on Shabbos you did different malachos, so too by avodah zara you did different malachos. Yet what do we see? There's a chumrah by Shabbos that you have 2 korbanos that you're chayav to bring 2 korbanos chatas. Masha'ein came by Sha'ar Mitzvos, or in this case, as the Gemara refers to it as avodah zara, that you're only chayav 1 korban. Very good. The first part of the brisa is very easy to understand. But then the Gemara poses a strong question. Here's the Gemara's question. V'mayu kimta, what did you just say the Resha, the beginning of this brisa was? You said that when it said Sha'ar Mitzvos, it was talking about the avodah zara. Well, if that's true, then I don't understand the seifa of the brisa that was used to prove Rabba's shita. Ema seifa, if that's true, then what does the seifa say? Chomer b'sha'ar mitzvos, sheb'sha'ar mitzvos, shagag v'lo miskavein chayev, mashein kein b'shabbos. There in the seifa, we said that there's a chumrah by sha'ar mitzvos, that by sha'ar mitzvos, if you were shogeg without intent, you're chayev, which is not true by Shabbos. So then asks the Gemara, if in the Resha you said that sha'ar mitzvos is avodah zara, then doesn't it also mean that sha'ar mitzvos in the seifa is also talking about avodah zara? Is there any other option? You're going to say that we already redefined the words in the Resha of the Brisa for Rava, that when it says Sha'ar Mitzvos, it's referring to Avodah Zarah. So one line later, it's got to be the same Sha'ar Mitzvos. It's got to be talking about Avodah Zarah. So then asks the Gemara, Hi Shaga, asks the Gemara, yes, Hi Shagag v'lo miskavein de Avodah Zarah, hechi dami. What is the case where we have a chomer, where we have something strict by Sha'ar Mitzvos by Avodah Zarah, more so than Shabbos, such that where there was a shogeg without kavanah, you're going to be chayiv. Says the Gemara, last of the short lines, Ilema, if you want to say, Kasover beis hakneses u'v'ishtachav, and you thought, you walked into a church, you thought it was a shul. What can you do? We daven in a place like that. It used to be a church, so you thought it was a church, and you walked in there before the building became the core. You got confused. So you thought it was a church. You were wrong. Maybe it even was. So if you walked in there, Kasavar beis hakneses u'v'ishtachav, you go in, you do your hishtachavaya. So then that can't be it. That's not a case where you're chayiv, because harei libu lashamayim. You were not praying to a deity. You were talking to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Mamish the Eivishter. You're talking to Hashem. You're just in the wrong building. You have an address problem. You're in the wrong building. So fine, okay, but it's wrong. There are shilas in the postgame. Are you allowed to go into a church? I've shared this before. My wife had to take some type of social work course, like an extra a credit course that she was taking for continuing education, and it was in a church. So we asked shilas, you're allowed to go into the side classrooms. You can't go into the sanctuary. You really shouldn't even look into the sanctuary. But in this case, if you walk into the sanctuary and you just don't pick up on the cues, you're just davening to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's not an Isser D'Oraisa. It's not right, but it's not an Isser D'Oraisa. So that can't be the case where there's a chumrah by Sha'ar Mitzvos, a chumrah by Avodah Zarah by comparison to Shabbos, because that would not be an Isser D'Oraisa if you walked into the wrong building and started praying to Hashem. Maybe the Ella, first of the longest lines, Ayin Beis and Beis, Ella, maybe no, the Chazian Darta Usagile, maybe you saw a statue and you started prostrating yourself in front of the statue. Says the Gemara, Hechi Dami. Well, give us the details. What was the person thinking? If you looked at that statue and you said, "Oh, okay, I found the Lord," so then you're amazed. That's not shagag like the Brisa calls it. So that can't work. It can't be that you're amazed, that you actually think the statue is a god. If it is, then you violated Avodah Zarah. That's a cardinal sin. That can't be what the Brisa is talking about, because the Brisa refers to it as shagag. So therefore, says the Gemara, and if you looked at that statue and you're like, this is made of stone, this is ridiculous, there's nothing that he's doing that's wrong at all. So it's just a statue, lav klumus, then there's no Isser D'Oraisa at all. So then what's the shogeg again? We're still not clear. So the Gemara here gives a unique answer. It says, Ella, no, you are serving a deity, but you're not serving the deity because you love the deity. Ella me'ahava u'miyira. You're only serving the deity out of love and fear. What does that mean? This is the big machlokes in the Rishonim. What does it mean that you're serving a deity out of ahava and yira? Take a look at Rashi, who helps us to understand a little bit more. You're serving this deity out of social pressure. You don't love the deity. You may not believe in the deity at all, but your friends, you feel pressure. Take a look at Rashi. About two-thirds of the way down in the Rashis. Rashi says, Me'ahavas Adam o me'iras Adam ishtacha b'lavodah zara. V'kari la shogeg b'lo miskabein. Klomar, shagag b'hachi, d'savor kevan de'in miskabein libo le'elakus mutter. He thought that I'm only doing this because my friend is pushing me to come to church with him. But I don't really believe in this God. So maybe that was the case. It says, well, maybe it's from Ahava and Yira. Says the Gemara. Well, looking back at the top of the page, we had a machlokes Abaye and Rava, but this would only work according to one shita. Hanicha le'Abaye de'amar chayev. I could understand how this would work according to the shita of Abaye, which is 3 lines from the top of the page, where he said that you're a chayev in a case where you broke the threshold. For example, the case there was when you picked up a knife with intent to cut something talush, something separated from the ground, and instead you sever something that's attached to the ground. There, Abaye says you're chayiv. So hanicha, 3 lines from the bottom. Hanicha le'Abaye damar chayiv. I can understand how all of this would work out according to Abaye, who holds that one would otherwise be chayiv in such a case. I got it. That would make perfect sense. But ela the Rava damar pater. But according to Rava, who says it's pater, my ikol meimar, there would be no chiyuv here whatsoever. So answers the Gemara, and then I'll look at that question that someone sent in. Ella, says the Gemara, we must be talking about a case, the Omer mutter. It must be a case where you thought that the avodah zarah was permissible. Someone just asked a question. Why would that work? Mordechai didn't bow to the idol for Haman. How is that even a havamina? How is that even a havamina? That what?
There's a Taisa stand there.
I first have to understand the question. What's the havamina that what? To serve out of fear of a person. No, so there by I know I see what you're saying. So the question is that what's the havamina that this would be an isur not be an isur doraisa? Because after all, Mordechai was pushed by Haman to bow down to Haman. See, but that's not avodah zarah. That was more like the case of the first of the longest lines, Andarta. Mordechai and Haman both knew that even if Mordechai were to bow down, he wasn't bowing down to Haman as a deity. He was bowing down, I presume, I'm postulating. He wasn't bowing down to him as a deity. He was bowing down to him because he was in charge. He's the guy with the ring. He's the guy who was in charge of everything. I don't know.
Covered.
Yeah, that's what the Gemara is saying here. That's the case of Ela me'avo miyira, right? That's what the Gemara is suggesting. That may be the case of Haman, but the Gemara rejects that. That only works according to Abaye, anyways. But according to Rava, it doesn't work, because Rava would have presumed that case would have been pater. So I don't know that the case of Haman is equivalent, because I don't think that even Haman would have thought of himself as a deity. I could be wrong. It's hard to get into a crazy man's head, but I don't think that it matches here, because here you are bowing down to a deity. You're just doing it at the request of a friend. So it would be like standing in front of an idol that everyone, an idol that people actually worship, but because your best friend said so. So that's different. That's what the Gemara tried to recommend, and that does work according to Abaye, who says that there is a chiyuv, which then aligns with our brisa that says that shagag below miskaben that you're chayiv. That's perfect, but Rava still has to answer. So according to Rava, what's pshat in our brisa? And interesting to note that Rava is the one who brought the brisa to start with. So what does Rava say is pshat in the brisa that he brought? It must be that we're talking about a case ela be'omer mutter. And the Gemara there says that it must be that he just thought it was permissible. So that if that's the answer, then here's how it would work out. That we said in the Seifa that there's a chumrah by avodah zarah that doesn't apply by Shabbos. What's the chumrah by avodah zarah? According to Rava, the chumrah by avodah zarah is that according to Rava that it's omer mutter, and therefore you're chayiv as it relates to avodah zarah, but you're not chayiv as it relates to Shabbos. But here the Gemara pushes back and says, no, you're not chayiv on Shabbos. It's completely mutter on Shabbos to do such a thing. Omer mutter, you have no consequence at all. So it says the Gemara, Mashein came to Shabbos. We said it was going to be not similar to Shabbos. The pater legamre. So you're saying that over there by Shabbos, the comparison would have been to say that by by Avodah Zarah, we see Shogag V'lo Miskaben is Chai within the realm of Omer Mutter. You thought it was Mutter, and it was therefore Shogeg, and you're Chai by Avodah Zarah, fine. So then by Shabbos, you would have been Putter. So says the Gemara, hold on one second. Hold on. This whole conversation started a blot ago when Rava asked Rav Nachman a question about how many chiyuvim a person would have. Take a look at the last Rashi. Rashi says, Ad kan lo kaboy mine Rava me Rav Nachman he'elam zev zev yado. We asked yesterday, what happens in a case where you have a lapse in memory, both about Shabbos in general and Malachos in particular? So there, Ad kan lo bo mine Rava me Rav Nachman el chiyuve chada. That whole conversation that we had over the last day was how many korbanos are you chayav? Are you chayav one or are you chayav two? But this answer of Omer Mutter doesn't work, because Omer Mutter, as it relates to Shabbos, would be pater. It wouldn't be chayav one korban. You'd be chayav nothing at all because it's Omer Mutter. So it says the Gemara, aval niftere legamre lo. This doesn't align with all of our previous learning in regards to the discussion that Rava and Rav Nachman had in regards to the sugya where a person had ha'alama, where they had a lapse in memory of both Shabbos and Malachos. So therefore, the Gemara rejects this recommendation, and therefore, the Gemara, turning to the top of Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, gives a very unique answer, and it basically parses our brisa that we've been learning into two parts. We said that in the beginning of our brisa, and we explained it well, it made perfect sense. We said that Sha'ar Mitzvos means Avodah Zarah, but it didn't work in the Seifa to translate that way. So here's what the Gemara does now. Elalav, no. We can't say that Sha'ar Mitzvos in the Seifa means Avodah Zarah. Elalav, what must it be? Reisha ba'Avodah Zarah. In the Reisha of the brisa that was brought to prove Rava's opinion, when it says Sha'ar Mitzvos, yes, it does speak about Avodah Zarah. However, V'seifa, but in the end of the brisa, when it says B'sha'ar Mitzvos, that's talking taka about other mitzvos, not Avodah Zarah. The shagag below miskavin b'shar mitzvos hechidami. When we're not, now that in the Seifa we're no longer talking about Avodah Zarah, so then what are we talking about? So it says the Gemara, the savor the shuman hu v'achlo. You thought that it was shuman, permissible fat to eat, and instead you accidentally ate chelev. So there, you'd be chayev. Mashein kin b'Shabbos tepater. By Shabbos, in such a case, that would be the chumrah by Sha'ar Mitzvos, which is that you ate shuman thinking it was chelev and you'd be chayev. But by Shabbos, Mashein kin b'Shabbos, fourth line, tepater diniskaven lachto chesat talosh. So that's how the Gemara would work according to Rava, and that actually is kafter b'ferach. That works out very nicely. Now, according to Rava, we understand the Seifa. According to Rava, the Seifa of the Brisa is that we have a chumrah by Sha'ar Mitzvos, and that if you eat shuman thinking that it's chelev, you're going to be chayev. However, by Shabbos, with a similar construct where you thought that you were going to cut something, niskavein lachto chesat talosh, you intended on cutting something that was already severed from the tree. That works. But what about Abaye? Abaye held that case of talosh v'chata chesam mechubar, you intended on cutting the one that was already severed, but instead you cut the one that was mechubar. He doesn't say that. Rabbi shagag below miskavein hechidami. What's his case? How does he make it work out? So answers the Gemara, the savor roku uvelao. He thought that he had saliva in his mouth, and it turned out that it was actually chelev, and that's what he ate. Uvelao mashein, and there you be chayev. Mashein came b'Shabbos to pater in such a case. Then he's kavin lagbia satalosh v'chatach esamechubar pater. Aval niskavin lachto chesatalosh v'chatach esamechubar chayev. So then there we can even work it out according to Abaye within the first case that Abaye agrees to, that niskaven lachto chesatalosh v'chat, the case of niskaven lahagbia satalosh v'chatach esamechubar pater. So then this brisa works out even according to Abaye. And in short, this whole brisa and all of the dialogue afterwards, really all of this goes back to 5 lines on the top of Ayin Beis and the Beis, which is to discuss the machlokas Rava and Abaye, line 3 really, where Rava says that if you intended to cut something that was severed from the ground, and instead you cut something that was attached to your putter, and Abaye holds in such a case that you are chayiv, and then Rava brought this whole brisa to support him, which we spent the last 15 minutes or so trying to figure out. We'll stop here. Mir Hashem will pick up tomorrow with Daf Ayin Gimel. Baruch Hashem, if you look toward the bottom of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, this is the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah that logs all of the 39 malachos, and we're going to then begin to analyze them one at a time, chipping away to get us through the 39 malachos. So we'll pause here, and I hope you all have a great night.